Hey everybody, on this episode of TTS Today, I would like to discuss the Sales Analysis Recent Sales tab in TTS. Recent Sales is a purchase order repository which will allow you to record, review, and report on your daily purchase orders in TTS. There are three tabs that we're going to discuss today: Recent Sales Input, Recent Sales Reports, and Recent Sales Transfer to Sales. Let's head over to the Recent Sales Input tab and discuss how to enter recent sales into the system. So here we have the Recent Sales Input tab in TTS. We've simplified this to make it very easy to enter and review your sales, your daily sales. You notice at the top of the screen, we have a recent sales input with a bunch of fields. And at the bottom, we have a view recent sales data. And you'll notice if you have anything entered for the current day, it will actually show up. So this is an on-screen view of what you've entered for the day. And later we'll talk about actually running reports. So let's go over each field and enter a recent sales. So customer, I'm going to choose a customer for our recent sales. And this is a list of all the customers that were in the system. Vendor. So one thing to note is really only three requirements for the recent sales input is going to be a customer, vendor, and a PO amount. All the other fields are not required. Purchase order amount. Your PO number. So in this case, we're going to type in any PO number. This is a plain text field, so you can enter any bit of information here. Comments noted on this particular purchase order. Date, you can backdate this. So by clicking on the box, you have the ability to change the date. I'm going to keep it as today's date. You must have a date entered in here, and it will default to today's date. Vendor order number. If the vendor provides a specific order number that you want to have included on here, again, not required, you can enter that right in here. So send customer confirmation and send file to vendor. If you check these, it'll automatically create um, an Excel workbook with this information that can be emailed to the vendor and the customer as a confirmation. If you uncheck this, you can send these at any time. So I'm going to leave these unchecked, and then I'll show you how to enter these manually or send these manually. The only way these work, by the way, must have a PO document. You have to have some kind of attachment. So by clicking on here, I can go into our wherever you have that attachment. Let's choose. Yeah, let's choose a factory quote. And then at the end, when all your information is correct, you can make any changes at this point, and then we can hit Save Entry, and you'll see it immediately shows up at the bottom. And it gives you this information. So you've saved the purchase order name, customer, the vendor, a reference number, which is assigned by the system. So it's basically an incremental number that gets generated by TTS. And PO file was uploaded. So we do have an attachment to click OK. And then notice down at the bottom, we have two. I had one in there previously, which is the one on the bottom. And then I have a new one, which is shown up here. So that's how you enter a PO. At this point, we can just exit out of the system and be done for the day. And you can continually edit these as many as you want per day. Let's go over the different features that we have at the bottom. So we have view recent sales. If I came in here and I wanted to look back or see everything for a certain period of time, I can change this date. Let's go back to the first. So I want to see everything for the month of July. Hit get data, and it'll give me all that information. Notice I left this search blank. So when I leave it blank, it's going to give you a results of everything that's in the system from January 1st, July 1st through July 17th. I can actually put in a PO number if I'm looking for a specific PO. I can put in a customer. And by the way, these are wildcards. So I can just type in Steve. Oh, notice we have Steve Drawers, Steve House A. And if I hit get data, it'll show me anything that has the word Steve in it. So it doesn't matter what value you put in here. You don't have to type in the exact customer name. Vendor, if you want to see all the vendors. Entered by is going to be who you're logged in as. So I want to see all of SREP. I would just type in SREP here and it'll show all my entries. Reference number again is that pre-assigned code from TTS. These are listed in here as well. And then the vendor order number. If a vendor gives you a specific order number that you need to look up, you can type that in the box. Again, by leaving it blank, you see everything for that time frame. Get data will initiate the search, download to Excel. We'll put this in an Excel format. So this is an on-screen report, but you can easily get it into TTS and then view it in an Excel format if you need to send it off to somebody. So this is everything based on that search criteria that we entered. Notice we also have hot links for our PO. PO link is basically going to be that attachment. We need to see the attachment. Okay. So a couple of things to know. Let's go back and choose. I'm just going to hit recent sales input. We get today's default. And notice on the second one here, we have a confirmation has been sent. So it's showing 717 at 8:12 this morning. We actually sent a confirmation. Notice the one I just entered has the ability to manually send a confirmation. I'll do this in a second. So send confirmation to customer, send confirmation to vendor. And what that's going to do is going to create an Excel workbook with all the daily information for this particular record to be sent out if you need this to be sent. By clicking the yes on here, it would have automatically created these Excel workbooks for you. So this is just a manual way of doing it. By default, these are set to, well, in my case, they're set to unchecked, but we can actually set this up in the user profile to have these automatically sent if you want. Saves you a click. So let's do the manual send confirmation for both the customer and vendor. So I go down here to send confirmation. Once I click on this, it gives me the ability to save. Again, it's an Excel workbook. So let's save. Let's open that up to take a look. So this is the customer confirmation. And what it does, like other areas of TTS, it creates a macro-enabled workbook that will give us the ability to email this information. And we can do it all from this screen. For instance, the particular customer that I chose for this one, Steve Drawers, these are contacts, so I can email directly from TTS. What most people will do is actually just go to the send customer confirmation, um, and it will create a Outlook email with all that information embedded in it. So I did select Bob at TTS.com. I can edit this if I don't want to include that. I can click my two and it'll give me all my information for that. That's built into my Outlook. This has the factory quote. If I double click on this, it'll show us the attachment. And it gives me the information. Thank you for your order. Please see attached as confirmation received. So it gives you basic information. Steve Drawers, TTS Today Demo 2, and TTS Today, along with my signature information. So that is to the customer. And let's do the last one, which is going to be to the vendor. Very similar to the customer one. Since there is no context for a vendor, this is blank, so I'll hit send PO to vendor. And basically it creates a similar attachment with the PDF file in this case. S representative has sent you an order to enter for PO, and it gives you the basic information for that PO. And then I can click to and then send, and it'll send us off. Again, this is a optional feature. You do not have to do this, but some people want to send this information out, and we give the ability to do that. And notice now it has updated the confirmation date and time so we know exactly when this was sent and that it has been sent and who sent it. So if you see any of these that say send confirmation, that means they haven't been sent and you would have to go on it if you need that going on to it. So that is your confirmation in the recent sales input. Um, Going down and looking at each line item here, we have the ability to edit. So if I needed to make a change, I click edit. And what it'll do is a pop-up box will show up here and it'll give us the ability to change our customer. We can update the comments, demo PO for TTS today video. If I wanted to change that, if I wanted to change the vendor, if I made a mistake, even the date. Once I click save, we can even add a different PO file. Click on save and it will update file and notice how it changes it in here. Copy. If I wanted to make a copy, what it'll do is it'll put the current information, so the customer, vendor, and the PO number up here. If I had additional information for this PO and I wanted to enter it, this saves me a couple of typing steps. Delete. I don't want this record anymore. I delete it. Quote, showing me a list of all the quotes for this vendor customer combination. And action items. If I want to assign an action item for this particular recent sales, and assign it to a person, a salesperson within the organization, and have them act upon this. Maybe call up, thank them for that order. If you're not going to send a confirmation, whatever. We can actually do it directly from the recent sales screen and enter action items into there. If I hit assign action item, I would assign it and add it to my action item list. Okay. So that's entering a recent sales into TTS. Next, we're going to head over to recent sales reports and show you how to report on all this information. All right. Next, we have the recent sales reports. So we've entered all this PO information and we want to be able to report on it in a nice, clean report. So going down the line here, sort by, we can sort by your totals only, your customer, your vendor. We can choose a date. So it's 7/1. By default, it's going to be the entire month. We've added a button to get to last month's real quick. So click last month and it'll show that. I'm just clicking on recent sales reports. It brings me back to the current month. Outside salespersons, again, if you want to limit what this report shows, we can choose any of these options. Our inside salesperson divisions. We have the ability to include as an additional salesperson if that's how they were set up in the system. Divisions, territories, groups, customers, vendors. And the last one is include PO details. Remember, we had attachments. If you wanted to see them in the report, we would check that and it would show the attachments as well. So let's keep this as 7/1 to 7/31. I'm not going to choose any criteria. Create report. Again, it gives you an on-screen report that will show you all the information that we've asked for. In this case, it was everything. The only thing I have entered for this month is TTS today. We have our Steve Draws and Steve House A. We have the amounts, and it will give you a total. The dates, PO number of entered, and your PO file. If I can click on this, and it'll actually open up the attached file. And then at the top, we have the ability to add this to Excel. So if we want to get a printout or email this, we would hit download to Excel. We can do send email, and it'll send this report as an attachment in an email. Let's see what the report looks like. Here you go, simple layout. Let's create a graphic view of this. And we're going to just choose the specific vendor. In this case, it was TTS today. And if I do graph selection, it will show me a bar chart of that. I can make a column chart, a line chart, combo. Pie chart is nice if I want to just see the totals, which is probably the most useful portion of it. And we can see Steve Draws has 80% of the business for that day or that time period. And this is for Steve Draws. So This is nice, and we can actually download this to Excel and print it. You can adjust the height. If I want to make this a little bigger, we can do that on the screen, and it gives us a legend, all that information nice and easily. We can even save it as a picture, which will create a PDF for that. Go back to the reports. So that's basically it. That is how you report on recent sales. The last section, and we'll continue on, is your recent sales transfer to sales. So this is entered into our recent sales bucket. Also, our system, and a lot of you probably know this, we have sales and commissions imports. So that's when you get a workbook or a PDF or some type of information from the manufacturer. It could be even in an email that you enter manually. But this information is entered by you. So if you want to actually put this into the sales reports section of the system, you would have to transfer this data. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually transfer the data that I just entered into the sales analysis side. And then we have a little more detailed reporting that we can provide. So you got to be careful with this, and you'll get a warning in a second. But let's choose 2023. I'm going to choose. This is the vendor file we want to move this data into. So since it was for TTS today, I'm going to do that. January is the date. I'm going to choose today's month, I should say. So July. And what it's going to do is it's going to take everything that was entered in July, not just today, everything that was entered in July, and it's going to move it over to the sales analysis section of TTS. I want a specific vendor. I don't want all that one. I want this one. And you have the ability to add a percentage for commission. So if you know you have a flat 5% commission, you can enter that in here. And it gives you the ability to review data. So I'm going to review the data. This is all the information that was entered for the month of July. I have the 2 that I entered today. Okay. And I had 3 that I entered at the beginning of the month. Gives me the total amount. It gives me the total commissions. By the way, I didn't mention this in the other screens, but just like all of our screens in TTS, you have the ability to sort. I can click on the headers if I wanted to sort by PO in alphabetical order or reverse alphabetical order. You can do that by clicking on the headings. And so I'm reviewing the data. It hasn't been moved over yet, but now I want to transfer. So what it's going to do is it's going to take $2,400.68 and $120.03 in commissions and move it into Stevens TTS Today 2023 for the month of July. Once I hit transfer data, we are going to get a warning. This will be transferred as well as overwrite any sales that this year vendor month selection may have already stored. Please confirm. Basically, what this is saying is if you manually enter data into Steve TTS Today 2023 for July, or you imported a workbook from the manufacturer, and then once I click OK, it's going to overwrite all that information and put this into that bucket, basically the 2023 Steve TTS Today July. Hit OK, and it has been. And then you click OK, and the system will clear it out. One thing to note is the recent sales will always remain in recent sales. You can always view it on the screen. So I went back to recent sales input. There's the 2 for today. I went back to the first of the month. I did my get data. So this will always be in here. So this never gets removed. When I go into the reports for, and let's actually go into sales and commissions input just to show you real quick. If I choose the vendor file, which was Steve TTS Today for July, we're going to see all the data information. So it combines it. So it's not every line, but Steve Draws had the 2125 and the Steve House had 275. This is the data that I entered, and there is your commissions because I included the commissions in there as well. So just be wary that it will overwrite if you manually enter data or import data using the 2 screens. It will overwrite that information. And that's it. Recent sales, a way to track, review, and report on your daily purchase order entries in the system. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.